Hello and welcome back to Listen Bro. My name is Ethan and I'm here with my brother and co-host.
I'm Joe.
And we're going to tell you some stories. Before we get into it though, check out our Instagram, Listen Bro Pod. We post pictures throughout the week relating to the stories we tell on our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then also don't forget to rate, review, follow, comment, whatever your platform allows you to do to help the podcast. All that's appreciated.
Yep.
And now, let's get into it. The longest standoff in FBI history, it was not at Waco. It was not at Ruby Ridge. It took place in the middle of nowhere in eastern Montana. It's just not very well known, or not as well known as Waco or Ruby Ridge.
Yeah.
And I'm going to set the backstory a little bit through the eyes of the group involved in this story.
Okay.
So this isn't necessarily how I view things or my opinion, but
Okay.
I tried to set it up so that you could hopefully understand why the people did the things they did. So we're going to start talking about during the 1960s and 1970s. Different movements in America were increasing environmentalism, which was affecting policies being made in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And those policies were affecting ranchers in the American West, places like Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, where the ranchers used public lands to graze cattle.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. Bureau of Land Management reduced the number of animals allowed on the range by a third in the 1950s.
Wow.
A decade later, these grazing allotments were required to be fenced. A tense period between federal land managers and ranchers in the 1970s is now known as the Sagebrush Rebellion. Basically, the farmers were just getting more and more and more restrictions placed on them.
Yeah.
In 1974, the Secretary of the Interior, who is in charge of national parks, public lands, those types of things, was sued for allowing public land to be overgrazed. So environmentalists sued the Secretary of the Interior for allowing the farmers to graze too many cattle.
Okay.
Despite already reducing the grazing.
Yeah, the number of cows you're allowed and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this case led to environmental impact studies that, again, reduced the herd sizes.
My goodness.
So, to kind of summarize that bit, ranchers in the West were placed under tighter and tighter regulations over and over again across a 20, 30-year period by a federal government that was thousands of miles away in Washington. Now, we can go back even earlier. Franklin Roosevelt is known for his policies that are called the New Deal, and these policies were meant to help the nation recover from the Great Depression, and they incentivized smaller harvests from farmers as a method of keeping the grain prices higher. And they also would pay subsidies to these landowners for retiring some of their farmland, again, as a way to try to control the prices. Well, in the South, there were a lot of tenant farmers and sharecroppers, so they didn't own the land that they were farming on, but like a tenant farmer would bring his own equipment and like rent a piece of property to farm.
Okay.
Sharecropper would work for a farmer, and that farmer would provide them with equipment and land and all that. But with these government programs, they benefited the landowners, so these tenant farmers and sharecroppers were being evicted because the owner would get paid for retiring that farmland. So all these tenant farmers and sharecroppers were left without a job, and they didn't have any land to farm.
Yeah.
So
that was their livelihood.
Right. And this is another example of what could be seen as the rich getting richer. The big landowners benefit more.
Mm-hmm.
So circumstances like these, those kind of two examples, one in the American South, one in the American West, were making farmers and ranchers wary of the federal government. These farmers and ranchers kind of saw themselves as they're self-sufficient. They would be happy to be completely left alone by the businessmen and politicians.
Mm-hmm.
So every one of these intrusions on their way of life was unwelcome.
Yeah. Reasonably so.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the backstory, and some of these disgruntled citizens started joining forces to put up a resistance, creating several groups that didn't recognize the federal government as a lawful government, and they wanted to establish a parallel government, which they would govern
Okay.
independently of the federal government and basically just in their mind, the federal government was null and void. They were going to establish a parallel government. One of these groups was known as the Montana Freemen, and they were led by a man named Leroy Schweitzer. Now, Leroy, he was a crop duster in Idaho and Montana, and he was one of these people that got frustrated at the federal government's interference in these farmers and ranchers' lives. He became an anti-government tax protester in the 1980s and attended several meetings of a posse comitatus group whose ideologies fascinated him. He moved to Montana and refused to get a license to fly his crop duster because that's a federal government thing.
Okay. So he just did it, though.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
arrest warrants were issued against him. In November 1992, Leroy's airplane, home, and other equipment were seized by the government and sold to pay his $389,000 tax bill.
Holy cow.
Because he had been refusing to pay taxes, it had stacked up to a significant amount.
Jeez.
So he lost his home. He moved in with a guy named Rodney Skirdall, who was described as a racist ex-Marine. And the combination of Leroy and Rodney wasn't great. They became more radicalized.
Yeah, I can see how.
Yeah. Now, just a few months before Leroy moved in with Rodney, this Rodney Skirdall took out an ad in the Roundup Record Tribune, the newspaper, to declare himself independent from the state and federal government. He stated in his ad that any freeman could separate from the false headquarters of the United States. He also demanded that government officials respect his status, certify his notice, and stay off his property. So he left a spot in the ad for them to sign it. And despite declaring himself independent from the federal and state governments, he still recognized the county government.
Okay.
So he wanted the county commissioners to sign that notice that he put in the newspaper and file it with the county clerk and recorder's office. He posted a no trespassing sign on the edge of his property and declared it a homestead, asserting his rights over, and this is quoted from his notice, or from his no trespassing sign. He asserted his rights over all airspace on and above ground, all rights below ground. And he forbade all federal agencies from entering or using his property. Now, one of the things that might have motivated this Rodney Skirdall was his ongoing battle with the IRS for unpaid taxes, and he owed $29,000. And the foundations of his claims and ideologies were rooted in, he just kind of cherry-picked phrases and sentences from the U.S. Constitution, the Bible, and different Supreme Court rulings that favored his ideas. So it wasn't a full, the things he was picking out of those documents were out of context, combining things from different places to make one thing. Just flawed logic is all that is.
Yeah.
Several other men would end up joining Skirdal and Schweitzer. And in 1995, they moved into a ranch in Jordan, Montana, which they named Justice Township.
Okay.
Jordan, Montana is in eastern Montana. It'd be northeast of Billings, probably like 2 to 3 hour drive from Billings. It's in the portion of Montana that's a lot like North Dakota. There's just really not much of anything out there.
Okay.
And I personally have dealt with the county courthouse in Jordan, Montana, because that's where I got my last speeding ticket.
Okay.
I was like 2 miles outside of Jordan, and I really had to go to the bathroom. But anyways, back to their relocation. They set up this, they called it Justice Township, Justus.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, kind of weird. But the relocation put all the members in the same area geographically. There were a couple different groups that kind of all joined together at this point. But it wasn't a smooth transition. See, when they arrived in Jordan, they went to the house of a man named Dean Clark and ran him off at gunpoint. Dean Clark, obviously, he was not part of this group. He was not a Freeman.
Wow.
But his father, Ralph, was. And
Okay.
some of this stuff is not very clear in the documentation I found. I don't think Dean Clark, who was run from the house, I don't think he owned the property. I think somebody in the family did. And maybe it was Ralph, but Dean was living there and farming the land. So Dean actually filed a suit in state court against the Freemen to have them removed or reimburse him for his loss of farming revenue because they kicked him out. This Justice Township, the Freeman Ranch, was actually made up of 5 different ranches and a variety of buildings spread over 960 acres. So a large piece of land. And Justice Township grew in population from, it started at about 10 people and grew to around 26.
A big town.
Yeah. 26 people hold up out away from everyone else.
Yeah.
And kind of stuck in that cycle of just reaffirming each other that they're right. Like not letting outside influence in. They're going to grow more and more radical.
Yeah.
From the ranch, Leroy, who was the leader, and some other of the Freemen taught classes to over 800 people who traveled to Justice Township from across the country.
Wow.
To attend classes on the Freeman way. And one of the things that they taught was how to write fake checks and money orders. Man. They would write false checks for well over the amount they owed on taxes and then demand a refund. So that was how they would get their legitimate money, was fake check would go through, but the refund would be real.
Yeah.
They would also file liens against property of various public officials, saying that, they owe us money. Those public officials would then have to take the matter to court to have the liens removed.
Okay.
Now, the Freemen also made threats to kidnap and hang public officials, including the sheriff, attorneys, and judges.
Wow.
They posted a $1 million bounty for the arrest and conviction of the county attorney, sheriff, and other officials that were involved in the foreclosure process of one of the Freemen's property. And the Freemen believed that they had the right to arrest, try, and punish local officials for their crimes.
Wow.
So, like I said earlier, I had to trim this down so much, but to go into their ideology too far it gets super complicated. But
yeah,
like I said, they wanted to set up their own parallel government, and this was one of their ways of doing it. They believed that they could arrest people, punish them, and all of that. But at the same time, they did recognize county-level government.
Yeah.
But they put out this $1 million bounty for the county sheriff, the county attorney, judges. Like, they were still attacking the county-level government, which I don't fully understand. Their whole ideology is so flawed.
Yeah.
It's you don't have to think about it too long before you find contradictions like that in it. But anyways, they're going about their business, committing all kinds of fraud, writing fake checks, teaching other people how to write fake checks and get away with this stuff. Meanwhile, the FBI was building a case against the Freemen and working on an arrest plan. They had actually started before the Freemen all congregated there in Jordan at their Justice Township. But in the middle of the FBI's planning, they all moved out there, so they had to take a little more time to plan and figure out how to do this.
Now everybody's all together and they can actually fight.
Right, and they are anti-federal government. They believe that they believe that any federal government agency like the FBI is a legitimate threat to remove.
Yeah, so they're not going to go down easy.
And that's the expectation. Now, I mentioned earlier Waco and Ruby Ridge. Waco was just a few years before this, and if you don't know the Waco case, it was, I think, a 51-day siege on a compound that was like a cult compound, also kind of anti-government, but it ended with major shootouts. I mean, basically throughout that entire 50-something days, there were over and over again shootouts, and the final result was the people inside the building set their building on fire and went up in flames with the building.
My.
Which was a terrible look for the FBI. Just a huge disaster. So they were trying to do things different here. They didn't want to repeat that. And they decided an arrest outside the compound would be the most likely way to avoid any armed conflict.
Yeah.
Now,
makes sense.
FBI Special Agent Timothy Healy went undercover and infiltrated the Freemen. He took their classes. He told them that he cashed their bogus checks and he would regularly visit and bring supplies to the compound. So he was just getting in with them. And Leroy Schweitzer and other prominent figures within the group believed that undercover agent Timothy Healy was a firm supporter of their cause, and they swore him in as a marshal of the Freeman Supreme Court. So
they even had a Supreme Court.
Yeah, they. So he was doing a good job undercover. Yeah, they did not suspect him in any way, and Healy proposed to them that the security of the compound could be improved if they put up a tower on the highest point of the property. So on March 25th, 1996, Healy brought Schweitzer and one, possibly two other freemen that were high-ranking freemen, brought them to the site to give the final approval on where the tower would be built. The two freemen, when they arrived at the site, were surrounded immediately by FBI agents and tactical teams and arrested. And the location that he took them to put them a little ways away from the buildings of the compound and out of sight as well. So this meant that other people wouldn't be suspicious and come to try to rescue them or shoot it out. And one funny detail, and I actually found several page report written by an FBI agent that was part of this whole investigation, and he had a lot of detail to the FBI side of it, which was pretty fascinating. But he said that Leroy Schweitzer supposedly arrived to the FBI command post after being arrested with a large damp area in the front of his pants. Yep. Pretty great. Okay, so following the arrests of those couple of leaders of the group, which was all part of the plan, you get the leaders separated. Hopefully that changes your negotiations with the rest of them. So the FBI formed a perimeter around Justice Township and they contacted the Freemen by telephone and fax, but the Freemen were not interested in negotiating.
Yeah.
They started bringing in what they call third-party intermediaries, people that are not FBI agents or government-related at all, to try to help convince the Freemen to negotiate.
Yeah.
So they brought in some family members of some of the Freemen, but the Freemen wanted a common law grand jury, which doesn't exist. And a common law grand jury, from my understanding, is rather than looking at policies passed by Congress, the common law would only refer to like court rulings. Something came up, it was tried in court, this was the result, sets a precedent. So not the result of legislation, the result of trials and court hearings.
Yeah. Okay.
But that doesn't exist. So
Yeah.
that's what they wanted. About a week later, roughly, on April 1st, in Spokane, Washington, 3 men pipe-bombed a newspaper's office building and then robbed a bank of $72,000.
Holy cow.
Now, these actions were linked to a different radical group known as the Phineas Priesthood, and they claimed that their robbery was done to support the Freemen. A Colorado state senator, Charles Duke, who was popular among groups like the Freemen, he showed up on the scene to help negotiate. After 6 days, Charles Duke reached an agreement with the Freemen to release 2 young girls who were living on the compound, but the Freemen ended up rebuffing him and refused to let the girls leave. And Charles Duke, and they brought other people in as well that were well known even within these kinds of groups. They were like their public figures, outspoken on their causes.
Yeah.
So like a few of those people, along with this Charles Duke, they said after their attempts to negotiate that the Freemen were nothing but crooks trying to avoid prosecution.
Yeah.
They basically said they're not reasonable. They're not willing to negotiate in any way.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it.
Right. So the FBI ended up conducting a few non-threatening displays of power over the following weeks, just showing their presence. And on June 3rd, they cut off electricity from the compound. Gloria Ward, a woman who was a member of the Freemen, member of the compound, she was finally on June 6th. And remember, all this started on March 25th or March 26th, so you're now in June.
Okay.
This Gloria Ward, though, was convinced by her sister, who was not part of the Freemen, to leave the compound with her 2 children, which finally happened on June 6th. 3 attorneys from a nonprofit organization that was founded to help these far-right extremist militia groups, called the organization was called the Cause Foundation. They arrived to negotiate with Edwin Clark, Ralph's son. Ralph Clark, remember the father who was like, let's take over this?
Yeah.
And kicked his son out. Well, this is another one of Ralph's relatives. Some places I saw said it was his son. Other places said it was his nephew. But Edwin Clark kind of became the leader of the Freemen after Leroy Schweitzer was arrested. And he apparently owned the ranch. So he's the one that owned the ranch that they kicked Dean Clark off of.
Okay.
And that ranch was facing foreclosure. But he was one of the more reasonable men, so they tried, these attorneys from the Cause Foundation started speaking with him, and he relayed through these attorneys to the FBI that he was afraid that Leroy Schweitzer, who was in jail, wouldn't agree with their surrender, which was why they were holding out still. So Edwin Clark wanted to speak with Schweitzer, who was being held in a Billings jail. And the FBI negotiator asked the attorney who was relaying this, and this is a quote from that FBI agent's write-up. He said, "You want us to take a man who is technically under arrest, fly him in an FBI plane to a jail where we hope to see him incarcerated, and then bring him home and put him under siege again. Kind of ridiculous. Like, take me to the jail that you want to lock me up in just so I can talk to my leader.
Yeah.
But then bring me back. Well, they were trying to avoid another Waco.
Yeah.
So that's what the FBI did.
Wow.
So after Edwin returned to Justice Township, operations continued for 2 more days to work out the final details, and on June 13th, 1996, after 81 days, the rest of the Freemen surrendered without any violence.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were successful in avoiding another Waco. It just took a long time.
Yeah.
Now, during the standoff, over 200 other Freemen from other places and associates attempted to negotiate fraudulent checks all across the country. So, like, they had these people locked up in their compound, but there were still Freemen out there, over 200 of them, still committing this fraud.
Yeah.
There were over 100 visits from third-party intermediaries during the standoff, which included 34 family members and 11 influential public figures. So, over 100 visits from third-party intermediaries, that's more than 1 per day.
Yeah, wow.
They were just trying everything they could. Leroy Schweitzer, he was convicted on 25 counts, including conspiracy, bank and wire fraud, failure to file federal tax returns, fugitive possession of firearms, and threatening a federal judge. And he was sentenced to 22 years in federal prison. And he ended up dying of natural causes in prison in 2011. In total, 7 of the Freemen were convicted on over 30 charges and sentenced collectively to around 70 years in prison for their crimes.
Wow.
Edwin Clark, the guy who went to visit Leroy in jail and was kind of leading the final negotiations, he was not convicted of anything.
Really?
Yeah, they kind of called it trying to think what the phrase they used. He was like almost like a victim of the circumstances. Like, yes, he was part of the group.
He wouldn't have gone that far.
Right. Without the other people.
Yeah.
So the Freeman group does not exist today in the way that it once did, but there are still similar groups out there. And one thing you may have heard of before is the Sovereign Citizens.
Yeah.
Same roots as the Freemen. They don't recognize the federal government. They do, like, if you see videos on YouTube of police officers in a traffic stop with sovereign citizens, they're so weird. It's funny. Their arguments don't make any sense. They literally believe that the federal government has trillions of dollars locked up that belongs to the citizens. And they have this weird, like, if they stand up to the federal government in a certain way, it, like, unlocks that for them. They get the money that they're owed. If they stand up in court, say the right things, do the right things, it's super weird.
Yeah. Those are the ones that, like, don't put their window down and put, like, a printed out piece of paper up on the window for the cop to read.
Yeah, and they won't have a license plate on their car. They won't have a driver's license, and they'll say, I am conducting commerce or something like that is what they say. Because the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, they believe some of those things, even though they don't believe in the federal government. And within the Constitution, it says that citizens have right to commerce between the states. Basically, there's not going to be, like, a passport that you have to show at the border of each state. That's what that means. You're free to move about between the states, conduct business, do whatever.
To any state you want, but if you're driving, you have to follow driving laws.
Right, and that's the thing. They'll quote that, I am conducting commerce. But the phrase they forget to reference in the Constitution is that anything that's not laid out in the federal Constitution is left up to the states. So, like, the federal government is not going to create traffic laws.
Yeah, that's up to the
That's
states.
up to the states.
Yep.
But they don't recognize state governments either, only county. So, yeah, pretty weird ideas there.
Yeah.
The Montana Freemen standoff, 81 days, no violence,
Jeez.
nobody was hurt, nobody was killed. The Freemen did
good.
have a bunch of weapons within their
Yeah.
compound, like that was part of their group. So they expected it could turn into a Waco type situation where they'd start getting shot at.
Yeah.
But the FBI probably did the right thing in luring a couple guys away to arrest them.
Especially it being some of the leaders of it.
Right. And that kind of split the group a little bit. There would be the leaders were probably the more radical people.
Yeah.
And
the
you
other ones were just
them,
going along with it, kind of.
Yeah, and you remove the most radical people from the group, you're more likely to have a peaceful outcome, and that's what happened.
Yep.
But yeah, that's my story. Longest standoff in FBI history. Middle of nowhere, Montana. And
yeah, I was 100% expecting it to be like, oh yeah, it was a crazy shootout and held up and hiding out and everything, but
right. Yeah, and if Waco didn't happen just a few years before, it probably would have turned into that.
Yeah. They probably would have just stormed in or something and
yeah. Which the Waco story I could do.
Yeah, I've never actually heard about that one, so.
Yeah, it's from before our time.
Yeah.
But not by that long, within 10 years. So it wasn't far enough back that we talked about it in history class at school. But there's a good documentary on Netflix about Waco that I watched a while back.
Okay.
But there's a lot of information online about these Freemen. There's some long, hour and a half long documentaries. There's PBS did one, I think, that if you want more information, go watch one of those. There's there's so many details to it that's just kind of crazy. At one point, they held up a courthouse for a couple hours. It's the potential for violence was there. They were doing things like that.
Yeah.
Calling to hang a judge.
That's crazy to me.
Right. Yeah, it's all kind of wild, but yeah.
In the 1960s, you said?
This happened in the 90s, the standoff.
Hangings in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Trying to make a public hanging, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I think so.
That's just crazy.
But yeah, the 60s, that was where the environmentalism started, that started affecting these farmers and stuff that turned them.
I can see how that would make them upset. I definitely can see how they just went too far with it.
Right. And they're somebody with their, I've said, their flawed reasoning. That they pull cherry-picking phrases out of different documents to fit what they believe.
Yep.
And then teaching that to other people only bolsters their beliefs.
Yep. But the fact that they were able to pretty much hold classes on how to fraudulently make checks is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and at the time, check fraud was a little easier to get away with because there wasn't computerized banking systems.
Yeah.
All you had to do was bring a check in from a different bank, and it would take days for them to verify that account information, and you could already have the cash.
Yep. I used to work at a bank, and we had so many steps that you had to go through at times.
Yeah.
If it was, you had to put it on a light to see if it had the fibers in it and everything. Some of them have, a little heat strip that you rub your fingers together on, and it changes color.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of tests that you have to do with some of those things. But back then, I'm sure they didn't have all that, so yeah.
Right. Yeah, it was things like this case would have led to all those security measures.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I guess moving on to mine. Have you ever heard of the company? I'll be surprised if you have, but it's Reflect Orbital.
Yeah, I know all about them.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I've never heard of it.
Okay, I was gonna say, really?
No, never heard of it. Reflect Orbital?
Yes. So they're a startup company out of California.
Okay.
Their main advertisement, sunlight on demand.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Tanning beds.
not quite. What they would be offering is only 4 times more powerful, like 4 times brighter than a full moon.
Okay.
But their hopes are to boost solar power production by reflecting sunlight back to the Earth at night via giant satellite reflectors. Hence,
Okay.
Reflect Orbital.
Yeah.
So what they're trying to do is like build constellations of satellites
Yeah.
that you can essentially buy from them a plot type of thing
Mm-hmm.
that they will maneuver that satellite so it reflects light down to that.
Yeah, because you'd have to focus it, I guess.
Yep. They got I believe it was $20 million in funding from Lux Capital, which backs a lot of like Lux Capital's main thing is bringing sci-fi to sci-fact, I believe is what their website said.
Okay.
So they're all for these off-the-wall companies,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them have actually made huge success. So they're hoping to do the same with these ones. So they're funding a lot of Reflect Orbital's stuff. And this guy, Joss Wolf from Lux, said that Reflex Orbital is pioneering a new category of in-space infrastructure. Like you're going to be selling sunlight at night.
Right.
That's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Hmm.
Which this could be great in some ways. Like you have tons of energy that you can harness if you put it on a solar field. You could have 24/7 sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
With their on-demand illumination technology, they will make it that you can reserve spots. Like the average person, it's not going to be cheap, but you
Yeah.
could go on and pretty much say, hey, I believe they're doing it based off of like an app that you can go on, and it looks like
Mhm.
somebody's shining a spotlight basically from the sky down. And you can select an area, and they've
Yeah.
already had more than 260,000 applications from
Wow.
across 157 countries for this reflected sunlight.
That's, I don't know. Just like in my head, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's
It's like, why not just build more solar farms?
yeah.
Like,
I
yeah,
definitely
you're
can
not
see
going to
that.
get as much. You're not going to get 24/7 sunlight, but
Mhm.
man, the amount of solar panels you could put up for the cost of putting a satellite in orbit.
Yeah. Yep. But also, think about you get not necessarily cities, but like towns and stuff maybe that have a nightlife that they're out working at night and they have a whole bunch of
Mm-hmm.
night crews, or like a military base maybe over closer to a battlefield where you need illuminated stuff. You don't have to have a bunch of lights brought in to project
Okay.
light down then. You can
Yeah,
just
you could use it
hire
as a
that
light source.
and it would illuminate a very large area
Hmm.
without needing all the generators and those expenses.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of the other ways they're trying to market this
Mm-hmm.
is I believe they said they want to use it for remote operations, civil infrastructure, defense, and energy generation.
You just imagine like an undeveloped country.
Yeah.
If you're I'm just picturing like if you're at war, or say China wants to take over a certain piece of land, or Russia, or I mean
Mhm.
any country, but like you go into this piece of land where there are people who are completely cut off from the outside world and they don't know anything. Like you can walk in and be like, "Hey, give us your land, or I will have
We'll take the moon
fire
away.
cast down on you." and then
No,
have this random light show up.
that island over like off the coast of India that
Mm-hmm.
has like they're cannibals. They've killed almost everybody that's gone near it. You can't fly near it because they'll shoot at you with bows and
Yeah.
arrows. Imagine shining it down on them.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
like
would
you could make
freak them out so much.
some crazy threat and then have that show up.
Mm-hmm. On their website, they did also mention that like agriculture, which that one confuses me because you can't have light shining down on plants all the time.
Right.
So, in what ways would the agriculture side work? But yes, this could have great abilities for like developing areas, even. So, like the construction side, you don't have to worry about bringing in a bunch of lights.
Mm-hmm.
But it could also have a huge downside. You're lighting up a lot more of the sky.
Mm-hmm.
That means astronomers are going to have a lot harder time studying space from Earth.
Right.
Like you have to have little to no light pollution to be able to properly study space.
Right.
The other concern is nocturnal animals
Yeah.
and human sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's like if you start lighting up, yeah, it might start out very little, but
Right.
they're hoping to start launching satellites in spring of 2026.
Holy cow.
And they're wanting to do what they're calling a world tour. They have not listed all the areas yet, but they're kind of wanting to give people an idea of what it can be. Give you locations. You can go and see how much it's going to light up. And like that could become a huge selling point for them. But that's so soon. And they're hoping to start with 4,000 satellites. But their hopes is to get up to where is it? Oh, their hopes is to be up to 4,000 by the year 2023.
2033?
2030.
Oh, okay. 2030.
But these are giant mirrors, 55 meters across. And another like astronomer standpoint is you're looking at a lot more satellites in the sky. It's
Right.
there's already so many up there.
Yeah.
And how like they're already concerned about like space trash because of satellite collisions, and
Yeah.
you're going to be adding how many more for something that really isn't necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, and like the same argument could be made for Starlink. You know, it's a lot of satellites up there. It's not really necessary. You could go about that in different ways and still have internet more widely available.
Yep.
But
I have to admit though, their website is really cool to scroll through.
yeah.
Cuz it starts out, hold on, I'm scrolling through it here just now. It starts out as like the sun and like the solar system with the rings going around it where the planets are. And then it zooms in on the sun, says the sun is a huge fusion reactor that supports all life on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go down a little bit further and it gets a close up of Earth with a bunch of satellites going around it. And it says that the sun's light contains 24 trillion times more energy than humanity uses. So, I mean, I see where they're going with it. Like they're trying to harness that energy.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, the concept, like I understand the concept. It's just,
yeah,
I don't know, man. That's a lot of resources to put into.
Yep.
Just to get a few more hours of light on.
And it's only 4 times brighter than a full moon. It's not like you're getting the full amount of sunshine on the solar panels. Like if you would be able to put it just on huge solar fields or something, and it was somewhat comparable to midday, that I could probably understand more, because that's a lot of free energy then.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, you're looking at, I mean, yeah, you're getting more energy, but I believe it's only a third of what you would get during the day because
Mm-hmm.
of how much dimmer it is.
Yeah. Then if you have clouds,
Yeah, yeah. Wasting the. Yeah, you're going to have a bright spot in the clouds
yeah,
because it won't come
exactly.
through.
Yeah.
Imagine this being used in like a tactical way,
Mm-hmm.
though. Like you said, say you're going to take over a piece of land, and instead of that, like, psychological warfare, I guess, like what you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
imagine just out of nowhere, boom, lighting it up and sending troops in.
Yeah.
Like, that would be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I don't know.
But it was like, there's a lot of concerns with it could really affect mental health because of sleep,
Yeah.
and that could really be bad for humanity if you start making it that it doesn't get dark.
Right. Yeah. And what's going to be the restrictions on it? Like, if your neighbor says, "Hey, I want this,"
Yeah,
can you
I don't
say
know.
no?
I'm not sure on that one.
Because that would
But
be,
that'd be a concern.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Or
There'd
like,
have to be some kind of restrictions on that, at
yeah,
least eventually. But
yeah. Like
I'm all,
almost have like communities that have to vote on it almost or something.
yeah, yeah. Probably he's
Because it would light up more than just somebody's yard. Like it would light up
right. It'd be an area.
big area. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, even like neighboring communities of those ones would still, you'd have that light pollution still. Like
Right.
you'd barely able to see any stars at night at that point, I feel like.
Yeah, it would definitely interfere with that, and
Mm-hmm.
I wonder also if that would grow to a pretty large scale. Now you're also introducing heat
Yeah.
to more of the earth than what it's ever had by adding that light. And like, it wouldn't be a big amount compared to direct sunlight, but still.
Yeah, but still take a magnifying glass and burn an ant on a sidewalk. Like it would, yeah.
And there's already, I mean, renewable energy. One of the reasons for doing that is global warming and
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
types of concerns
Yeah, to save the earth some. So, I
are
mean,
reasons to stop burning things and use electricity that you can get. And I'm all for it. Like, if you can figure out a way to harness more wind energy more efficiently, or
mm-hmm.
hydroelectric, solar, whatever, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the number of solar panels you could put up
Mm-hmm.
for the cost of putting one of those satellites in space,
Yeah, but
you could cover a larger area, I'd imagine, with solar panels than what that thing could spread
up,
light
essentially.
onto.
Yeah.
And it's only going to be 4 times the
4
moon?
times brighter than the moon.
So it's not going to be strong. Like,
No.
that's the thing. Solar panels are already, if it's cloudy, if you get not direct sunlight,
Mm-hmm.
they're not that efficient.
Yep.
You still
Yep.
get some energy from them, but they're not that efficient. Just build more. I think they should put solar panels on, like, here in the northern hemisphere. All the big skyscrapers in New York, the southern facing wall for the top so many feet of the building, because the higher you are, the less atmosphere the light is being filtered through, which makes it more efficient.
Okay. Yeah.
So, like, putting a solar panel on top of a 10,000 foot peak is way more efficient than a solar panel at sea level.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But if you take
out in
those,
California, they have parking lots that are fully roofed over with solar panels. So, okay, for one, your car doesn't get insanely hot then on a nice sunny day. And for two, if it's snowing, if you would do that in an area that does snow, then your car's not being covered in snow while you're inside a
Right.
store or wherever. So that would have its benefits even. Like, why not start taking use of a little bit of height in those areas?
yeah,
But
yeah, I think like skyscrapers would be a great
mm-hmm.
place
I
to
never even
start
thought
with
about that
those
one.
types
I've
of
always
things.
thought like top of Walmart's.
Well,
Like it's a
and any of
huge
those.
land area. Like why
It's a,
not?
it's a lot of area that's not being used for anything else.
Exactly. That's
Just,
why the
load it
parking
up.
lot one, I'm like, why don't they have that at more places? Like, yeah, like I live in Pennsylvania. Yes, it's a little bit cloudier here and stuff. And we get snow.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get as much energy as what you would in a desert or in California.
Right.
But you'd still get some.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah. If I had the money to do things like that, like I'd promote go farther north, farther south, where you're going to get less sunlight in the winter, but you're more likely to have clouds in the winter anyways. But your summers are going to be longer days, more energy, go up higher elevations, all those things. That's what I think would make sense. Like
Yeah.
you take a place like Denver. Denver's already 5,000 feet above sea level. Then
Yeah.
put on top of the tallest buildings.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, even like New York City, go to some of those skyscrapers. The southernmost facing side, like you'd get so much during the summer.
Yeah.
And you're going to be above clouds at times.
You're going to be above some clouds. You're going to be, you're just
Like-
getting that 1,000 feet makes a difference in the atmosphere, especially that low.
Yeah.
Like the difference between sea level and 5,000 feet is way bigger of a change than the difference between 5,000 feet and 10,000 feet. That's just the air is denser the lower you are. So even that 1,000-foot difference, even though it's right next to the ocean, is going to make a difference on your solar efficiency.
Yep. Yeah,
it's an interesting concept.
It is. Like that's what caught my eye with it is it's a neat idea like somebody had and they're kind of running with it to try and get more usable energy, like renewable energy, but I feel like there's better ways to go about it.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Like I'm all for using more solar energy and stuff. If you're going to light up a solar field using a satellite.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's a way to do it, but you can't tell me there's not more cost-efficient ways to do it.
Right. And it, like the alternative to what I said, like just build more solar panels, invest that money into making solar better.
Yeah.
Make it more efficient. Like if you put that amount of money into research and development, make them better.
$20 million from Lux. I mean, if you'd research and develop, they already make solar panels that are flexible.
Right. Yeah. So just different ways to start using it.
Yeah. Like try and find out better ideas for stuff. I mean, it's just
start lining, I don't know, airplanes.
Like I like the idea of electric cars with solar panels on them.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool idea. I think that.
Well, and if you made a solar panel more efficient, that's the trouble with solar on a car is it's not a big enough space to have enough solar panels to make a huge difference.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, you might get some miles per day, but you're not going to get a full charge.
Yeah.
But if your solar panels were more efficient, maybe you get half a charge.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
that Aptera. I believe they say you can get 40 miles a day just on their solar charge.
Yeah, I think that's
for their
what you
car.
Told me before 40. Yeah.
But I mean, that's very reasonable for people's average commutes to work or wherever. I mean, that would be sufficient
that's provided
enough, but
your car's getting sunlight all day.
Exactly.
You're not parking in a garage or...
Yep. That's the thing is the second you start parking in a garage.
Or if you're parking on the street next to buildings, you're not going to get direct sunlight. Yeah. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah, that's kind of what caught my attention with it is it's just a neat idea that somebody had.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see more of how it goes. Like I said, they can launch as soon as spring of 2026.
Yeah.
And by 2030 they're hoping to have 4,000, so
yeah, that's crazy.
We'll see if the company makes it past startup or not, but
yeah.
Well, let us know what you guys think in the comments though as well.
Yeah, let us know what you think about would you be a Freeman? Would you be a Montana Freeman?
Yeah.
I kind of hope not, but hey,
Yeah.
let us
I mean,
know if you would.
if you would, let us know why.
And would you order Midnight Sunshine
I like that.
on your house? Midnight Sunshine?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good phrase.
It is.
Off the top of the dome
Yeah.
there.
They call it on demand illumination is what they call it. But I like Midnight Sunshine better.
Yeah, they like in Alaska, they refer to the midnight sun when you get that just a very short amount of night, or if you're far enough north, you
Then
don't get any night.
Yeah. Yeah.
They call that the midnight sun, but that's probably why I thought of Midnight Sunshine. But
Okay.
boy, think of people like that. They would hate you. You are ordering sunshine in the middle of the night, and we would love to get rid of it.
Yep. Yep.
Put
aren't
solar
there
panels
some
up there.
Aren't there some areas that like they don't experience any nighttime or any daytime? I mean, for a short period of the year.
Yeah, it's the same once you get up north of the Arctic Circle, south of the Antarctic Circle. That's where you hit the point that during the summer, you don't get any darkness.
And then during the winter, you don't get any light.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Imagine
it's, very,
you could
very
light
little.
up. You could light up an area up there. You could
Mhm.
light up a town
Yeah, that's true.
during the
You
day.
could-
I mean, that could
yeah,
make a huge difference there.
yeah, that's true. That could help for half the year
Yeah.
or a couple
Got
of
to
months.
figure out
but-
how to reflect darkness for the other half, I guess. But
yeah, or stack the place up with solar panels, and all summer you're collecting energy,
Yeah.
and then all winter just use it to light up the town.
yeah. Yep.
Start hanging like stadium lights.
Imagine the batteries you'd have to be able to store all of that power,
Yeah,
though.
it'd take a lot.
Oh, man. All right. Well, this one's
Yeah, this
probably
is our
hitting the time
longest
frame,
episode. So thanks everybody for listening. If you want to suggest a topic, just leave a comment or go on our Instagram, ListenBroPod, and send us a message. Either way,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see it and take any suggestions and try to run with them.
And don't forget to like and follow. And we'll catch you next week.
Bye.